Okay. I'm going to do a quick rundown of how to use resistance against the tank, just for those who don't know how. This should be pretty quick. So we're just going to use a resistance team, Finn lead. BB-8 is ideal, but if you don't have BB-8, then you should take either R2-D2 or Ray. Let's start with Ray. She's the weakest of my resistance team. A lot of people have her pretty strong, though, so she is a good character, does a lot of damage, but she doesn't have any way of applying exposes, so that's one reason that BB-8's a little bit better. For phase 4, using Ray, if she has a Zeta, it's possible to solo the entire phase 4. So right now, the basic idea is just to get exposes on the turrets as much as possible. And once exposes are put on the turrets, then as you can see, the AAT isn't going. Now, if I were to hit this one, when it's not toppled, the AAT, the tank, gains turn meter whenever it's hit, unless it's toppled. So for now, we're just basically trying to take out all of the turrets with exposes. As you can see, I have three people right now with 100% turn meter. So I'm going to work a little bit on this one. Just because, yeah, so now I don't have anybody coming up with turn meter, and I don't want the tank to get another turn. And I'll explain a little bit about Morale 1 and Morale 2 right now. So I hit that expose just so I should be able to topple it before it gets a chance to go. This should take it out. Close. Okay, good. We got turn meter on our resistance pilot because the expose happened. So he gains turn meter every time there is an expose applied to an enemy. Everybody with Finn's lead gets turn meter when an expose is, like, when it gets used, when it's after you hit an enemy with expose. So there it got hit and taken away, and it did its damage, and everybody gained turn meter. So that's the basic idea. A few things about this team without BB-8. So they're gonna lose their protection eventually, because with phase 2, the tank gets an extra turn after it goes from being toppled. Both of the side guns start at 100% turn meter, and the tank itself also gets 100% turn meter. So he's going to use his abilities to do damage to everybody, which will also makes him a bit faster at getting enraged. So it's the reason that the phase 2 is the harder part of the heroic AAT compared with just the phase 4, which seems very similar, but it's actually easier because only the side turrets get to go, and the tank itself doesn't get a turn. So that means that you have more actual turns before it gets enraged. So yeah, basically it'll, once it's done being toppled, it'll count as a turn, and then once it shoots its thing, because it gets 100% turn meter, it'll count as another turn. So it'll go from 15 to 13, even though it seems like it should only be one turn. I should probably be using Flurry of Blows. I don't know Ray's kit as well, so But yeah. So there, see 14. Now he's going, and it's 13. So it's not great that that happens, to be honest. Yeah, it's kind of annoying. So again, we just want to get exposes. So most of my guys on resistance have very high potency. That's one thing you really want on resistance team is as high of potency as you can get. You can get away with slightly less potency if you have BB-8 because his secret intel gives anybody who has it plus 25% potency. He can also apply tenacity down, so that like in this phase I'd have an easier time of applying these exposes while the tank's toppled. So I'll go through a run with BB-8 as well later, but that's basically how Ray works there. Let me show you with R2 real quick. So that's basically it. You don't want to hit the main part of the tank at all while it's not toppled. You just want to be trying to take out all the turrets, and especially if you can get exposes on them. So concentrate on the ones that you're able to get exposes on. Ideally, you have a really fast Poe, so that he can apply his AoE exposes more often. So there, it gets one and the main tank. And again, we're not going to hit the main body of the tank if we can avoid it, just because it'll gain turn meter, even though it may not normally. So I might hit it once. I doubt it because it's just going to get to go. So I didn't talk about morale yet. I'll show you the morales once we've toppled this. So I didn't want to hit that with his special because it wasn't exposed, and I want to save his special for the next time he gets to go, which it would go off of cooldown right now because there's 2 exposes on here. But so there's morale 1 and morale 2. Morale 1, 100% defense penetration. That happens every time that the tank is toppled. Morale 2 only happens if all of the turrets were taken out within 1 turn of the tank. So even though the tank was really close to going, because this is a turn meter manipulation team, I was able to still go without having to worry about the tank getting a chance to go. Now on certain teams, it's a good idea to actually, if your damage isn't high enough, to actually get all of the turrets low at one point, then allow the tank itself to take a turn, and then to finish them all off at once, just so you can get this morale 2 at plus 25% speed. It makes a pretty big difference, especially for resistance, to have that extra speed. There's also a morale 3. Now the only way to get morale 3 is for this main tank cannon to hit somebody and for them to survive until the next time it topples. I think it gives you plus 50% offense, I believe is what it gives you. But I've never found a reason why that would ever be useful. The reason being that in order for this main tank cannon to shoot you, it'll take at least 2 full turns of the tank And ideally, you should try and get the tank to topple as often as you can, especially in phase 2. You can only topple it about 7 times. Maybe 8 if after it's enraged you get some luck, but it'd be a lot of luck. Um, Now in phase 4, even after it's enraged, you'll be able to get, you should be able to get 15 to, I've gotten as many as 18 topples before dying with a clone team. It wasn't heroic, so I don't know that that would be possible now, but in a normal AAT, just because I was able to topple it before I get any major damage, um, because again, it doesn't have that extra turn in phase 4. Basically, the only thing that attacks me in phase 4 is the airstrike, and I think the 2 side turrets also get a chance to go. So that's the basics of that. Now, with R2, there is some advantage to survivability compared with Ray. Ray's going to do more damage, but if you're having trouble with people dying, then R2 is going to be the better bet, because before the tank wakes up, we're going to use Smokescreen on Poe. And the reason we use it on Poe is because he's always taunting. That's what his AoE expose is to taunt. And so he wouldn't be in stealth anyways. But if we put the smoke screen on Poe, he doesn't get invisible, but he does get he gets the foresight. So at least one of the next hits from the tank won't hit him. So that should increase his survivability a bit. So that's the main idea there. So it's gonna happen pretty soon. I'm not getting a lot of exposes. I'll come in with BB-8 and show you. You get way more exposes with BB-8 for the 2 reasons that I explained. That you have more potency, and you can put tenacity down on the tank. I'm not exactly sure what the tank's tenacity is. My guess is, based on the Rancor and stuff, that it's probably around 80%, maybe as high as 70%, 90%. I mean, so not 100% sure. There's just enough time that we should be able to get to R2 before the tank goes. Yep, there we go. R2, my R2 is pretty quick, so you kind of have to make a judge of whether you'll be able to get it in time. If not, it lasts for 3 turns, I believe. 2, 3 turns, something like that. So if you're not sure, do it just a little bit earlier, and you should be okay. But see, that first one, he got to dodge. But yeah, he takes quite a bit of damage here. Finn has a special ability that that will allow Poe to start healing. So we're gonna do that here in a second. But again, see, we get 2 exposes, which allows us to start getting into this turn meter lock that we like with resistance, which is why we're able to be able to do this even though we don't have quite as much damage. Again, I didn't want to use his special there because it wouldn't have created a new expose, so there's no real reason to waste it there just in case we're not able to get an expose for a little bit. So there we were able to use it and get an extra expose. So doing pretty good as far as all that. And so this team can do a pretty good amount of damage, even without BB-8, but BB-8 helps a lot. So this one here, you know, I would occasionally use it to keep Poe alive. Gives him health over time. So if he dies before you get a chance to put them on him, though, then not much you can do. So, alright, so that's the team with R2. And like I said, it gives just a tiny bit more survivability than Ray does. Ray does more damage. R2 gives a bit more survivability. And BB-8 does the best of both of them. He makes everybody have a way easier time surviving. I won't have any trouble with anybody surviving all the way to the end. I think last time I tried with this team, I think Poe got pretty close to dead a couple times. But with Illuminated Destiny, which gives protection back to all resistance, and with Finn's, I don't remember what it's called, his healing over time thing, I was able to take Poe from like 25% health to 100% health and like 50% protection on the next topple. So, you know, let's see how this goes. This is being slow. Alright, so we'll do one more with BB-8 just to show you why he's ideal for this. He's even better for Phase 4 because one of the things about Phase 4 is that you have the two B2 battle droids on the sides, and BB-8's basic can apply daze. He has to hit them twice, but it'll apply daze after a little bit. And then once you have one of the B2s dazed, you can even get both the B2s dazed. Then while the tank is toppled, it gives you an extra spot to put exposes on with Poe's AoE expose, and with BB-8's AoE expose, his Illuminated Destiny also exposes, which is another reason why he's really good on this team. So with that extra, see, this isn't good. So you'll see right now that I'm not going to have Morale 2. We just had bad luck with the exposes, so that's why that happened. Doesn't have anything to do with BB-8. You know, the other guys wouldn't have had any better chance of applying expose either because they don't have any way of doing an expose. So anyways, so with the two B2 battle droids, you can bring them in because they'll never, with daze, they have no way of gaining turn meter, which is the normal problem if you hit the main body of the tank while those B2s are alive. So there we go, we got an extra expose from BB-8's Illuminated Destiny. If you hit the main body of the tank while those B2s are alive, then they normally would have a chance to gain 100% turn meter, and then you know, the B2s can do quite a bit of damage to you where they can do AoE, you know, dispel all my stuff, especially with BB-8. That would be bad. Which all this stuff is giving me more damage, which is why BB-8 is actually better than Ray in terms of damage, is because now everybody is doing a ton of damage and not just Ray. So, you know, it might be possible to come in with BB-8 and Ray instead of Trooper here. Oops, I didn't mean to do that. But there's no real reason to, so we want the extra potential chance for exposes is just slightly better for keeping it down. And as you can see, I've been getting a lot more exposes on this already, and keeping the tank down longer because my guys are gaining 100% turn meter. the tank doesn't gain turn meter when it gets hit, like when it's not toppled. So it just has to wait until, you know, somebody on my team doesn't have 100% turn meter, and then it'll get to go. But as you can see, almost everybody has, right now, Poe and Finn both have 100%, and they're going to get more. Resistance Pilot and Resistance Trooper almost have 100%. If I don't pop this exposed before their turn, then they'll have a chance to go, then the tank will go just a tiny bit, not very much, because they're pretty close to 100%. But anyways, that's the only way that the tank gains any turn meter at all, is that the exposes just don't apply. Again, it has approximately, I think, 15% chance, no matter what, of an expose not happening. But also, the only person who has a guaranteed expose is Finn and BB-8. They're the only two. Illuminated Destiny, it can be resisted, but I think it can't be dodged. Yeah, it can't be evaded. But it can be resisted. Again, it has that 15% chance, no matter what, of being resisted. Everybody else's exposed chances are 60%. So basically, other than Finn and BB-8, there's a 40% chance that he won't get exposed, plus a 15% chance, even if the expose would have went, that he would resist it. So it's not exactly additive. It wouldn't be 55% chance that he would not get hit by an expose, but it's somewhere, it's probably like 48% or something like that, just under 50%. So about half the time that my guys are going, he's gonna resist getting exposes. But we can keep the turret down for quite a while. And again, with BB-8, it's much better because we have secret intel and stuff like that. You could potentially get all of your guys their potency up high enough that there wouldn't be much of a difference between having BB-8 and not having BB-8. The only difference then would be that every once in a while you'll have a character who has no chance of exposing, either R2 or Rey, has no chance of exposing, so they'll just either pop the expose if it's there or have no chance of doing it. So in that sense, it still kind of slows it down just a little bit, or rather speeds up the AT tank. It slows down your ability to put exposes on it. So as you can see, he's been resisting quite a bit. Like that was 100% chance of an expose, but he resisted this one, and Pilot and Poe, or Poe. So that's how it goes sometimes. So now he's pretty much got a guaranteed chance he's gonna go here in a second. And like I said before, BB-8's Illuminated Destiny recovers their protection, so there's a ton more survivability with BB-8 than there is with either R2 or with Rey. So here we're not in a great situation because these are both pretty close to going. But Finn has a guaranteed, and it's almost certain that he can put in an expose. And then here we got a nice AoE. Again, that's 100% guaranteed unless they resist it. So the main body of the tank there resisted it, which is fine. We only want to work on the turrets anyways. So this is why BB-8, turns your resistance team from, mediocre to okay tank team to a next level really good tank takeout team. So yeah, that's all there is to it. All right, you guys have a good one.